Welcome to the session 3 of the subject Learning and Development for MBA third semester. The topic discussed in this session is about difference between training, learning and development. Training may be viewed as a systematic and planned process, which has its organizational purpose to impart and provide learning experiences that will bring about improvement in an employee and therefore enabling him or her to make his contribution in greater measure in meeting the goals and objectives of the organization. Training is an organized procedure for increasing the knowledge and skill of people for a specific purpose. The trainee acquires the skill, technical rules, and procedures to guide their behavior, and they also become aware about the process and the steps. Training improves the performance of employees on both present job and for the future. With this background, let's understand the concepts relating to the difference between training, education, and development. Training is short term, task oriented, and targeted on achieving a change of attitude, skill, and knowledge in a specific area of an employee. It is usually job related, whereas education is a lifetime investment. It tends to be initiated or a step taken by a person in the area of his or her interest. Let's understand development. Development is a long term investment in human resources, which is future oriented and focused for long perspective. With this background information, we need to compare and understand the difference between training and education. There are certain bases on which we will differentiate. First is meaning. The process of inculcating specific skill in a person is referred as training, whereas education is a theoretical learning which can happen in the classroom or any institution. And what is it? It is a method of skill development. Training focuses on skill development, whereas education is a typical form of learning. It is based on practical application, whereas education is based on theoretical orientation. Scope or perspective. Training has a narrow scope, whereas education has a wide scope. It involves job experience. For education, it involves classroom learning. Training is basically short term, education is comparatively long term or lifetime. Training prepares an individual for the present job. Education prepares an individual for future job. The objective of training is to improve performance and the overall productivity, whereas the objective of education is to develop a sense of reasoning and judgment. We need to discuss about the difference between training and development. There are certain bases for differentiating. Levels of persons involved. Training, it is meant for supervisory level and operative level employees, whereas development is meant for managerial levels. The objective of training is to enable employee to perform their job better, whereas the objective of development is to ensure the overall growth of the employee. Training duration is short-term process for a fixed duration. Development is for a long-term process. Training is a process of increasing knowledge and skills for a particular job, whereas development is the process of learning and growth. Orientation, it is job-oriented process, whereas development is career-oriented process. Development is for a futuristic and it focuses on employee growth. The duration, as mentioned, training is a short-term process for a fixed period or a duration. Development is for a long-term process. Effective or objective. Training, it enables the employee to perform the job better. Development, it ensures the overall growth of the employee. Focus of training is on technical skills. Focus on development is on conceptual and human ideas. Level of trainees. It is meant for supervisors and laborers. It is meant for managerial levels. The scope of training is narrow, whereas scope for development. Training the process of providing employees with specific skills for helping them to correct deficiencies in their performance, which could be relating to current job, individual employees, immediate, fix current skill deficit, and may be seen at times as negative too. Whereas development is an effort to provide employees with abilities the organization will need in the future, that is for both current and future job. It focuses on group and organization, and it is for long term, and it is to prepare for the future work demands. Training is not learning. So now we'll understand the difference between training and learning. Learning is a process, it's not an event. It occurs over time and with experience. Training is an event that occurs to facilitate the learning process. So, learning occurs when an individual behavior has changed. Training is a small part of the learning organization. Trainers facilitate learning. In other words, they teach or train or educate or coach. The outcome is helping others to learn, and the performance is at the top of the list. Training versus learning paradigms. Training is teacher focused, learning is learner focused. Goal of training is to produce results. Goal of learning is to produce continuous learning process. Teacher's role is expert, whereas in learning, teacher is a coach or a facilitator. Learner's role is passive in nature, whereas in learning, learner's role is active in nature. Training focuses on individual. Learning focuses on team, community or collaborative. Training is program driven, whereas learning is process driven. Training is standardized. Learning is customized. Training program is linear, sequential. Learning is experiential and relationship based. Training is periodic as needed. Learning is continuous and it's for lifelong. Training is long term, whereas learning is for short term. Training is classroom focused. Learning can be in an environment. In training, it is to memorize the information. Learning enables critical thinking and problem solving. Whereas for training, retention is based on feedback. Learning, feedback is application oriented. Hope this session will have helped you to learn the difference between learning, training, education, and training and development. Thank you all.